Wow. Welcome back to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered, live from AmericaFest 2025. Yeah, that's right. I'm joined by John Doyle. He is, of course, host of the John Doyle Show. Great patriot. His fans are over here. Very happy to see him. And new show on the Blaze. Thank you. New show on the Blaze. Everyone needs to check out.
True.
John Doyle Show. And so we're here at AmericaFest, and there's already been quite the lively speakers happening. You had kind of some feuds on and off the stage. And I want to talk about one thing in particular that I saw that I was a little bit surprised to see, which was Tucker Carlson's speech at AmericaFest yesterday. It kind of threw me for a curveball, John, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Let's go ahead and play some of Tucker's AmFest speech.
Most people agree with that. Most Americans have more in common with each other than they disagree on. And almost everybody agrees on that. And almost everybody is willing to tolerate a good faith argument about how to get there. Except a few. And they're the ones running around calling everyone an anti-Semite. But everyone else is like, yeah, of course, that should be the debate. And they'll vote for you. They want that because they know they haven't had that. That's the fact. And what you're watching now, attacking millions of Americans because they're Muslims, it's disgusting. And I'm a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I know there's a lot of effort to claim I'm a secret jihadi. I'm not. You should not attack people on those grounds. And you're seeing it from Republicans. What the hell are you doing? What you're doing is trying to divide the country. And I've lived through 50 years of this crap. All these fake race wars that they're always promoting. Oh, go hate each other while we loot the treasury. That's exactly what's going on. And most people are totally sick of that. So yes, there is a possibility for a huge coalition of decent people once they free their minds from the traps set for them by others and realize, wait a second, we all want to make this country better. And the 15% or 30% who don't, okay. You know, good luck in Maryland or wherever you wind up. But the rest of us would like to fix it.
Now, I actually have a major problem with the Islam-Muslim rhetoric coming from Tucker Carlson. I actually don't think, I think it's wrong. I think it's a leftist tactic to say it's evil to be anti-Islam.
Well, like literally the framing of what he's even saying is itself leftist coded, because he's making the argument that people could all get along and be Americans were it not for these evil elites motivated by money trying to divide the people. This has been like the way that they've tried to explain all the woke stuff rather than calling it what it is, which is just like fueled by anti-white, anti-American, anti-Christian sentiment, saying it's actually that it's these elite bankers, rich people or whatever who are trying to divide the 99%. It's just like recycled Occupy Wall Street talking points, just totally inaccurate. And I love Tucker. I had a canvas in my apartment of Tucker Carlson. He's like a great patriot. And so I don't know. Well, I used to. I had to tear it down like Syndrome in The Incredibles. I was like looking up as like, you can't count on anyone, and just had to tear it down because, yeah, this guy's coming out here like, what, a week after we just had a Muslim terror attack in Australia, which is, you know, obviously not America. It's a separate country. However, in a real sense, they do sort of share a lot of our struggles in terms of like existential conflict against the West by the third world. And so to like come out now at this event and like take time to say stuff like that, I just think was inappropriate to say the least.
Well, and I would say obviously Charlie Kirk was very clear that he wanted everyone to feel like they had the right to speak, and so I would never try to police who gets to speak at these events. But I would say that Charlie was very clear that Islam is incompatible with the West. Like he was very, very clear on that.
You're talking about like 1,400 years of conflict. You're talking about people who define themselves literally by their opposition to Western civilization, to Christian civilization. There is no scenario where you can ever ally with people who are Muslim, not because they're like, bad people or whatever, but because their beliefs, which they hold very closely to their identity, are not just like incompatible with ours, but they're actually actively hostile to them. Mm-hmm. Even in more like moderate countries like Indonesia or Malaysia, it's still something like 70% in favor of Sharia law.
Yeah.
Okay, that means subjecting Christians to either being second-class status, as they have been throughout history when Muslims are in charge, or like literally just slaughtering them. So, like, no, I'm not a cruel person, right? I'm a Christian. I don't believe in being cruel to other people. However, I'm also a Christian, which means I believe it's my duty to impose my will upon civilization and govern as Christ would want. And that doesn't mean I have to do this like gotta hand it to him thing and pretend that were it not for this evil, rich class of people, we'd be able to like do trust falls and sing Kumbaya with Muslims. Like that obviously is not the case.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to just take a minute to let Charlie say in his own words what he had to say on the matter, because this is why it like I said, it threw me for a curveball to hear this from Tucker Carlson on the stage that Charlie Kirk built.
Sure.
Here is what Charlie Kirk had to say about the matter.
I have really started, as you know, speaking more and more about Islam.
If you want to talk about how Islam mistreats women, we could talk all day long. Because you brought up female genital mutilation, which is a teaching of the Islamic faith.
Most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad, the greatest man ever to live, the greatest example, was a warlord who married a 6-year-old, raped her when she was 9, and then kept multiple wives. Yeah. Remember President Donald Trump openly ran on a Muslim ban into the United States of America? Do you think Islam is compatible with Western civilization?
Absolutely not.
You get rid of Christianity, and then, even more dangerous, you go from secularism then to Islam. Because then you're like, well, we have to believe in something, and then you bring in a completely different ideology that's at odds with Western values.
I debated at Oxford and Cambridge back in May. These are broken, conquered cities and towns. They're completely unrecognizable. When I go walk through Piccadilly Square and there's just more Muslims than native-born whites, or there's something wrong about that, and that is a metamorphosis and you have to wonder, like, did you vote for this? Did you want this? Did you invite it?
I know a lot of great individual Muslims. My primary doctor in America is actually a Muslim, and he's amazing. That's not the point. You could walk the street and meet a great Muslim in London. The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religions. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. Those three things are antithetical to the West. We've had imams in England saying they want to mount the West like a woman to be mounted and subdued. Gaddafi said something similar in the late 90s, saying that we're going to take over Europe without ever having to lift a sword. For anyone that has eyes to see and ears to hear and actually reads the Hadith and reads parts of the Quran, you know that conquest is an Islamic value. I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer. By what metric? Just happiness, quality? Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion. The spiritual battle is coming to the West. And the enemies are wokeism or Marxism combining with Islamism to go after what we call the American way of life. But soon, Britain will have more practicing Muslims than practicing Christians. I think that will be a catastrophic change. And everyone knows it.
So I think Tucker has been right on a lot of things. I think this one, he's just not. And the evidence is there. You can see it happening in Europe, literally right now. Which is why it's so perplexing to me.
Yeah, a lot of Americans hear this sentiment and they don't quite understand it, because especially younger people, if they didn't grow up in sort of the global war on terror era, maybe they weren't quite politically aware yet. But people in Europe know exactly what happens when you allow for these like ethnic beachheads to be established. I think I know pretty well. You know, I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, was in my backyard, so I was sort of in a proximity to this that most Americans aren't yet. But it's a very unique type of immigration, because it's not like these are people just like blindly flooding in through the southern border and the only thing they have in common is that they all want like free stuff. That's one thing. But when you're dealing with people who are flooding in, but they have an ideological cohesion because they are all Islamic or they're all Muslim, whatever, and then they also have backing from oil-rich states which are willing to facilitate that, that's a dangerous combination, because now you're not dealing with millions of people who are just, you know, having their hand out for free stuff. You're dealing with people who are building faith centers, community centers, establishing no-go zones, lobbying. Like it is a far different kind of thing that's going on with this group of people and compared to like other groups of, you know, immigrants coming in. So yeah, I don't understand why we're feeling like we have to take it easier on them or, you know, give them a pass.
Yeah. Well, kind of speaking of that, I would like to just self-promote for a second. John, you and I are doing a breakout session tomorrow
I heard they changed the title.
They did change the title.
But I heard they changed it back because I was gonna be a little mad.
Would you like to tell everyone what the title is?
Yeah, the title is Immigrants Are Causing All of the Problems, actually. And the thesis of that is that immigrants are causing all of the problems, actually. And that was, actually, I won't tell that story. Let's just say I gave similar sentiment a few years ago at a certain political event, and they put me on a certain blacklist, and I've been off that list now, which is great. And so I will deliver the same message tomorrow with my good friend and woman of color, Sara Gonzales. We'll be discussing that because, yeah, it's not enough to say that like illegal aliens are causing problems. It is like decades of systemic importation of people from countries that are just fundamentally incompatible with ours. And frankly, as an American, I feel completely emboldened to say that. You know, if I speak nicely about immigrants, not so nicely about immigrants, you can pray that I am charitable, but ultimately, as an American, I get to have that conversation without regard for how people may feel about it who are from countries that are foreign to my own. And yeah, so I would like to talk about that because it does affect literally every facet of our society, whether it's you shopping at the grocery store, traveling at the airport, trying to buy a home, putting your kids in certain schools or others. Like, it affects everything.
Yeah, it really does. So those of you who are here, we hope that you will join us for that. And make sure to tune in to John Doyle Show.
So true.
The John Doyle Show.
That's right.
When does it air? Can you
all the time.
Tell people where to find you?
It's youtube.com/John Doyle, aptly named John Doyle Show, and you can find it there. We post. I think we posted today, actually.
Great.
Yeah.
So make sure to check it out. And then we will be back with more. I'm going to bring on Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton here in a few, which is kind of funny because I'm like, oh, we were both in Texas, and then we both traveled to Phoenix, and I'm going to interview you in Phoenix as well. We'll be back with that, but I want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Relief Factor. So those of you who live in constant pain, you think that this is your life. It doesn't have to be, actually. You should try Relief Factor. It was developed by doctors who were tired of giving their patients things that made them loopy. And they were like, I don't want to give you something that you can't drive, you can't drink, you can't operate heavy machinery. And so instead they gave them this all-natural, very, very potent anti-inflammatory, and it really does help with pain. So if you're living in pain, it doesn't have to be that way. Try their 3-week quick start. It's like less than $1 a day to see if it can get you out of pain, and if it can be life-changing. ReliefFactor.com is where you can get that 3-week quick start. That is ReliefFactor.com. Welcome to the show. One of my very favorite people in the entire world, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, is in the house live at AmFest 2025. Is this your first day here?
Yeah, I got here last night.
Yeah,
so it's my first full day.
How do you feel?
It's got a great energy, and the fact that the assassin thought he was killing the movement.
Yeah.
All you have to do here is be here just a few minutes, and you know that didn't happen.
Yeah, you're totally right. I said it was funny before the break. I said, it's kind of funny because he and I are both from Texas, and we both see each other often in Texas, and now we're flying all the way to Phoenix, Arizona to interview you.
It's fun. I'm glad I'm here.
So no, I'm glad you're here as well. So obviously you are running for U.S. Senate in the state of Texas, and I would just like to say for the record, my words, not yours, John Cornyn is a total embarrassment to the state of Texas, and we really need you. So I want to talk about what's happening in the state of Texas with Jasmine Crockett entering the race as a Democrat candidate. Now, I don't know if you can speak on this, but you had Colin Allred, who all of a sudden, right as Jasmine Crockett was announcing, he was like, actually, I'm going to run for the Texas House. That was totally her pushing him out, right?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. The people behind pulling the strings definitely wanted him out and her in.
Yeah, I was like, okay, those two things have to be tracking. So I want to play Jasmine Crockett, who says that she is going to turn Texas blue. Watch.
Turning Texas blue is what I want to talk to y'all about today. Now, there are those that say, ain't no way, we done tried it 50 kinds of ways. Let me be clear, y'all ain't never tried it the JC way. We used to telling us what I can't do, but they have no idea what Crockett's crew will do. And so I just want to be clear, for all the haters in the back, listen up real loud. We gonna get this thing done.
Okay, like a lot of talk and, energy and hip hop or whatever, but the math really isn't mathing to me. General. And so I want to get your reaction to, I'm sure you saw it, CNN actually, after she announced, CNN was like, so how do you plan to win over the Trump voters? Because, as you know, Trump just won in the greatest margin since 2012, I believe, almost 14 points in the state of Texas. So when you talk about MAGA country, this is very much MAGA country that we're talking about. And here's what Jasmine Crockett, in all of her brilliance, had to say about that.
How will you make voters who previously had voted for Trump, particularly given that you have been an outspoken critic and he has inserted himself, just take your campaign video as is. He has inserted himself at every turn when it comes to your commentary. How will you convert those who are supportive of him to voters for you?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump supporters. That's not our goal.
Do you need to?
Our goal is to definitely talk to people. No, we don't. We don't need to.
I'm not a mathematician, okay? That doesn't track for me.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get how she can say she wins a state that Trump won by 14 points and she doesn't have to convert any of them. My only theory there is that she thinks she can get more people out, and maybe she can.
Sure.
But we're talking about a presidential election. I don't think she can do it.
Yeah, I mean, it is very bold of her to say, I don't, because there really is no Trump Crockett voter. Like, that doesn't exist. There's not a person who's like, I swing for Donald Trump and Jasmine Crockett.
Venn diagram doesn't cross, does it?
Yeah, it's just two separate circles. Yeah. There's no overlap there. But another peculiar part of Jasmine Crockett, and I have a theory here, okay? I remember several months ago, God, what is it, maybe 6 months ago, Jasmine Crockett was actually very close with John Cornyn, it seemed. She was very, very friendly with him. She spoke very highly of him. And I want to play Jasmine Crockett seemingly like kind of in love with John Cornyn. And she says he's only MAGA during the primary to get through the primary. But no. He actually is very interested in bipartisanship with people like Jasmine Crockett. Here's that.
And right now, what we have is a senator who actually is a real Republican who's doing everything that he can to make it seem like he's a MAGA Republican so that he can get through his primary. But Senator Cornyn, this is not him. This is somebody that sat on our Supreme Court in the state of Texas. This is somebody who typically works in a very bipartisan way, unlike Senator Cruz. This is somebody who is literally doing everything that he can to hopefully get some of that MAGA base.
Did you pay Jasmine Crockett to endorse John Cornyn?
I guess that wasn't an official endorsement, but pretty much she's telling the truth and he's not. And it's interesting to see her talk like that and basically out John Cornyn on who he really is. And then, of course, you probably have seen the clip where he says, I'm trying to make her my dance partner in the House. And so there seems to be a very friendly relationship. She has a lot of respect for him because he's a lot more like her than he is like us.
Right. I mean, I just thought this is the greatest. If I were Ken Paxton, I'd be rerunning this over and over on loop in my ads. Jasmine Crockett endorses John Cornyn. Jasmine Crockett says, actually, John Cornyn is the moderate one. He's just pretending to be MAGA and America First, because the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, there's only one America First candidate in the primary, and it's you.
That's absolutely right, and his record speaks to that. There's nothing in his record that says he's a MAGA guy. He criticized Trump when he ran for president in 2016, said he was an albatross around our neck, and then this time he said he shouldn't be president. He was not supporting him, and that he insinuated that he was guilty of crimes and we should have somebody else. So the real John Cornyn went away during the primary. He will be back. The fake John Cornyn is going away as soon as the primary is over. And she knows that.
Yeah. I mean, my theory was, gosh, I wonder if she was trying to harm his chances all the way back then, that she was like...
She's not that.
Go ahead.
I don't think she can see that far ahead. I don't think
she's not that forward thinking.
She was just being honest. I mean, she was being honest about the real John Cornyn, the one that he's lying to the people of Texas and lying to the whole country. He's been lying to us the whole last, 9 months about who he really is. It's kind of embarrassing that our senator won't stand up and talk about his own record. He ends up lying about his record and then attacking me, even though I've actually been a MAGA guy.
Yeah. And I think that, we're here at AmericaFest, obviously, and it was Charlie who was kind of leading the charge on, with TP USA Action, if you guys are rhinos, if you do not put America first, if you do not push through Trump's nominees, whatever it is, if you are not with the agenda, we will primary you and you will lose, because this is very much a country, a conservative movement that is focused on America first now. Especially in places like Texas. I mean, we deserve better in Texas. We've had... He's running for his fifth term, which would be 30 years in the Senate. No one in Texas history has ever been there that long. He doesn't deserve it. If he'd actually accomplished something, maybe we'd give him something special, like a fifth term. But he has no accomplishments that are good. They're only bad accomplishments. I mean, I feel like if, I just mentioned there's no Trump Crockett voter. So if Jasmine Crockett is going out on CNN and saying, actually, John Cornyn's great. He's not too bad. You guys should really like him. That should give every conservative cause for concern. And I cannot repeat what she said about me, but it wasn't very nice. Yeah. Really? Something about a train wreck with a word before it. Really? Yes, she did not say nice things about me. So apparently, she doesn't view me with the same adoration that she does John Cornyn. Which is a good thing for you. I'm fine with it. I'm very fine with it. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I would put that into an ad and I would play it over and over again, because that's the greatest endorsement that you can get. I may play what she said about him and then what she said about me, but I can't repeat what she said about me. Oh my gosh, it's not safe for children's ears. No, it's not safe. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. The fake ghetto hood rat would say something that was unsuitable for all ages' ears. So how is the campaign going? It's going really well. We're still ahead. He spends about $3 million a week since the middle of July. Remember, if you're an incumbent, you have unlimited money. There are no limits. If you're a challenger, you're limited to $7,000 a person, which is really difficult to raise enough money to run in Texas. But that's the way they designed it. McCain-Feingold was designed to protect even terrible senators that are representing a state like Texas, designed to make sure they never lost. But this one is going to be different. John Cornyn, with all that money, with all those lies, is still behind and may finish third. Yeah, that would be embarrassing. Do you see a point in which he drops out? Because I keep seeing, and I'm like, I don't think he does. I think he's too arrogant. He spent too much time in the swamp to actually see the writing on the wall. A couple of problems. One, he can't get off the ballot at this point because the primary is March 3rd. Early voting is February 17th. Second, he's already spent all this money that should have gone for Republicans to beat Democrats. So he's wasting money that could be spent across the country to elect more Republicans in a selfish way, because he knew he was far behind. He said, I deserve this. I'm going to take everybody's money. I'm going to tell the donors we're raising this money to beat Democrats. That's what they do. And then they're going to use it against me. Yeah. Not very honest, very dishonest, and very bad for the country. John Cornyn fits right into his whole MO since he's been in office. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So tell everyone where they can go to donate to your campaign. KenPaxton.com. It's really important that we have a lot of help, just because of the way the rules are favoring incumbents by so much. It really is. It's nasty. I know I told you last time I was with you, I want to, when you have some time to breathe after the primary, I want to sit down, I want to do an entire podcast on all of what you're talking about, the inner workings of the contributions and the incumbents. I would love to, because no one really knows it. The incumbents never talk about it. But blew my mind. It is unbelievable how rigged it is. Yeah, it really is. So make sure that you go donate to Ken Paxton's campaign. We really, really need him in the Senate. I know we really need you as Attorney General, but we've got a good guy who is, I think, going to take the reins there. Aaron Wrights. Yes, and we need you in the Senate. Thank you so much, Texas Attorney General. Great to be with you here. Soon to be U.S. Senator Ken Paxton. Thank you. Great to be here with you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, before I go, I want to thank our sponsor, SelectQuote. So life insurance, those of you who are listening live as well, if you don't have life insurance, it's one of those things that it's hard to think about, because you're like, I don't want to think about leaving my family, but you don't want to leave your family with nothing either. And so if you've got something that's just attached to your job, you really need to check out SelectQuote. They actually, for more than 40 years, they've helped millions of Americans sort through the maze of policies, prices, and fine print to find out what actually makes sense. And they're going to find something that's customizable, that's right for you, not just a one-size-fits-all solution. They can handle, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease as well. And there's no medical exam involved at all in many cases. Get the right life insurance for you for less. Save more than 50% off at selectquote.com/Sara. That is selectquote.com/Sara. Welcome to the show. Special guest Tyler Bowyer. He is the COO of Turning Point Action. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
It's
glad you're here.
I am glad to be here as well. You know, I missed it last year. I missed it. It's hard with kids, young kids, you know, and so I am so glad to be out here in Phoenix. The energy here is amazing, by the way.
It's insane. Like, you look around this place, we've got tens of thousands of people from all across the world.
Yeah.
Most of them, I presume, are Americans.
Yeah.
So
did you do a check? I don't know. Are we checking citizenship here?
We are checking. Yeah, we have. No, but it's true. It's crazy. We have all 50 states represented.
Yeah.
Conservatives from other countries coming here saying that they want to learn how to do this activism stuff in their own home country, which we support. I mean, obviously, we don't really care about other countries, but we want
to learn from us.
But they want to learn from us how to do it. It's great, and it's just been awesome to see the amount of enthusiasm that people have going into this next year's election. So
I'm glad that you brought up the election, because obviously with TP USA Action, that is what you guys primarily do. And I wanted to ask you, going into the midterms, I know there are a lot of people who are a little bit nervous.
Yep.
Obviously, historically, it's never good for the people in power. And on top of that, you have a lot of this in-party fighting and division.
Yep.
And so I wonder, I know, you correct me if I'm wrong, because I knew Charlie, but obviously you were much closer with him. His vision was, we're primarying all the rhinos, we're getting them out of here. If you're not America first, you're going to go. So what is the plan going into midterms for that?
Yeah, I mean, that's step one, right?
Yeah.
So I think actually, so you brought up something, you said the word infighting. So I think a lot of people right now are looking at this and going, oh my gosh, this seems like there's a lot of struggle that's happening within the conservative movement. That's actually a good sign that there's people fighting over the heart and soul of what it means to be a conservative, about the Republican Party. And that means that there's going to be some challenges, hopefully, to some people who are incumbents, who are not doing a great job or good enough job to support the president. So part of the issue that happens with incumbency when you have a president is that there are people that start to show their face that they're not on the team.
Yeah.
They're not helping that thing. And so naturally you have some fight that happens because the people who aren't on the team are going to get challenged by people who want to help the team.
Right.
And so that's a natural part. What ends up happening later on is the other side has their own challenges that don't necessarily bubble up to the top as quickly because they're not in office. And then, again, you kind of have this like teeter-totter effect that happens. But, I mean, that's one thing that's really important is, like, you look around here at AmericaFest, you have a bunch of people coming together wanting to help solve those problems now so that we get good people in next year. Yeah. And I'm super enthusiastic. I'm super optimistic about the fact that we can do that. And fighting is good.
You're right. You're right. It's how we grow as a movement, I think. Are there any specific states or candidates that you guys have targeted for the midterms?
So what's really important for the Republican Party is to build our own red wall. So the left has talked about their blue wall. So you talk about Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania for presidentials. Our side has not focused or invested enough into places that are really meaningful for us. And so when we talk about meaning, well, that's statistically meaningful, right?
Yeah.
So there's only so many swing states that everybody can agree are swing states. Sure. You're sitting in one right now. Arizona is one. Statistically, Arizona is the most important swing state for Republicans to win. Because if you don't win, all of the combinations that happen, you lose about 70% of those to win the presidency in 2028. So when you look at that and you back your way into 2026 and midterms, you say, okay, well, what makes the most sense to kill two birds with one stone and help invest into those states that you need long term? Well, there's a governor's race here in Arizona, and that's really important. So if you win that, you're going to be in better shape for 2028. In Nevada, you've got an incumbent governor. In a place like New Hampshire, where the Republican Party's invested almost nothing, the president, do you realize this? The president only lost New Hampshire by tens of thousands of votes.
That's incredible.
And people don't even realize this. Back in 2016, he almost won. He only lost by less than 5,000 votes.
Wow.
Only a few thousand votes. I can't even remember. I don't have it at the top of my head. Just a few thousand votes. So you have winnable places that happen if you invest into them,
right,
and show some muscle. And that's what, again, that's part of what we're doing here is kind of building that red wall, that red map.
Yeah. I heard Erica yesterday. God bless her. She just walks up there and she's just so poignant and beautiful. And she said, we are going to win in 2028 with my husband's friend, J.D. Vance. So you guys are already like, we're doing it.
Erica's a warlord.
Yeah.
So this is what I know is that she is obviously she's a mom. She loves her kids incredibly. I think if you asked her, if she was sitting here right now with you, she'd say, what would you prefer to do? Be a mom?
Sure.
Or be a warlord?
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we don't ask for these things.
Right.
They
Right.
become incumbent upon us.
Yep.
She has marched up there. She has been able to figure out how to do both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And in the wake of the most horrific murder that any of us could have ever seen, and it's unimaginable what happened to Charlie this year. She has taken the entire country on her shoulders and got up and uplifted everyone by saying, we have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about getting up and speaking or podcasting or whatever, right?
Yeah.
All that's really great.
No, I agree.
Really important. But we all have to put our boots on, strap up here, and go to war against the radical left who wants to take our country away from us.
Yep.
And we'll be damned if we allow Charlie's assassination to be for naught.
Yeah.
That we're not going to carry the torch and carry the banner of what he had set up, what he was passionate about. Because every single day, Charlie Kirk was interested in one thing, and it was ensuring that this country was going to be around for the next generation.
Yep.
And the republic was going to be defended. And if we don't do that work now, we're toast. And by the way, just real quick, and I know, sorry, I'm belaboring this.
No, you're good.
2026, leading to 2028, is the most critical election of our lifetimes. And it won't even be close after that, because if we lose 28, the left is going to hijack everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that in large part because President Trump came in and he had all these executive orders that just changed things overnight, but you don't have the codification of that within Congress yet. So,
well, Congress has to codify everything, but keep in mind too, if we don't win in 2028, redistricting is going to be a tool that the left has already been using for the last few decades, that they're going to lean into dramatically, and to ensure that we don't win states like Texas ever again. I mean, if the left got their hands on Texas,
I know,
and they can do this a couple different ways,
I know,
we are in really big trouble, and that's why it's so important to defend everywhere. Lift where you stand, fight the battle where you are, pick up the arms. Like, that school board election matters in your deep blue and deep red state. Doing the work that we're doing at Turning Point to focus on those key target states, again, like Arizona, Nevada, New Hampshire, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Iowa. Come help us with those places if you have extra time and free energy. But if you're in those states, you're really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have probably the weight of, and we tell our team this, every single person that works for Turning Point Action, they are chasing hundreds or a few thousand votes. But the multiplier effect across the country is really, those are millions of votes, because millions of Americans are depending on us to win Arizona.
Right. That's why I love what you guys do so much, because just like a brief story, just to really hone in on what you're saying. My husband and I became delegates at our local, district. And it was actually such an eye-opening moment for me when I went to the conference that they have, and we were by far the youngest people in the room. I'm not a spring chicken.
Not even close.
No, it is not even
you
close.
Are.
Well, I mean, I'm not. So I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing? We are the young people here are letting 80-year-olds dictate the future that they are going to live in.
Yeah, I mean, the real sad part about it is not the age of the room; it's who's not in the room.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys are the ones who are growing up in this. You need a say.
Well, here's what's scary, right? So everybody's complaining most recently about affordability, right? And talking about housing and not being accessible, right? Totally right.
Sure.
Like, this is a real problem.
Yes.
You can't be a player and be constantly on the sideline, constantly putting yourself on the sidelines, right? Mm-hmm. You're either in the game or you're out of the game. You're on the bench or you're at home, right? You got to be in the game. So the problem is that we have now an electorate in America that is predominantly young, millennial. So most of the electorate is millennial or Gen Z.
Yeah.
You know this, right?
Yeah.
baby boomers are now a smaller portion of that. But if baby boomers are the only ones showing up,
exactly,
they're going to dictate policy, right? They're going to make the decisions for you. And again, we have some wonderful baby boomers that are here.
Oh, of course.
It's not our baby boomers aren't the problem.
No.
It's the left's baby boomers
yes.
that are starting to outnumber the number of conservative millennials who show up.
Right. And
they're dictating policy. So
exactly.
a lot of people are asking the question how did baby boomers move slightly to the left? Well, we're losing baby boomers. They're aging out. They're retiring. They're not showing up to vote anymore.
Right.
Because there's two types of people that typically don't show up to vote almost always. Those that are too old to vote and those that are too young to vote. Here at Turning Point, we focus on those that are too young to vote, meaning 18, 19-year-olds, and trying to get them more activated quicker.
Yeah.
We saw that outcome this last election that was super successful on college campuses.
Yes.
We shifted the electorate on college campuses to the right double digits.
Right. Yeah, it was so eye-opening for me when I saw that. I was like, we need the young people showing up and being involved in the conversation, and that's what you guys have done so well.
Well, and they probably loved having seen you there.
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of people that they get a little nervous when they see other people show up, right? But they love seeing you there, and my experience has been showing up, just like you did, to the local Republican stuff, the local city council, local school board stuff, is that people actually. Once you start getting involved, they keep seeing you repetitively. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, well, why don't you participate?
Right. And by the way, I just want to say, some of it is really boring work. I'm just going to be honest. It is really boring. I think that it's important going into it, but it's so important that it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what has previously turned young people away from being involved. They're like, I don't want to go to this meeting and have to listen to all these rules, but it is just so important, especially when you're talking about local. Local is what affects you the most in your daily life.
Well, can I give you the analogy? The analogy is like a party, right? Like a party is who shows up.
Right.
So if you have a party and no one shows up, it's a lame party.
Yeah.
If you have a party and only your kind of lame friends or whatever show up, or they don't bring good food, or you don't put on good music, right? It's going to be an awful party.
Right.
And so a lot of people are they're really hesitant to jump into a party and make it cool.
Yeah.
But if you get into that party and then you call up 3 or 4 of your cool friends and they show up, and then they bring food or drinks and music and all that stuff, now all of a sudden the party's cooler.
Right.
But it takes that first person to get there and get the party. You've been there at a party right before, and it's you're trying to get it going and you're oh, this is awkward.
Right.
So you just have this start to talk to people and get people going and give that guy a drink and hopefully he'll wake up, right?
Right.
That's the same thing with the party, right?
Yeah.
The Republican Party is going to be lame.
Yep.
And that's the story of AmericaFest.
Yeah.
Everything was lame.
You're right.
And I sat with Charlie and I was like, dude, we have to do cool stuff and invite people in and mix it up. And sometimes it's uncomfortable because people will get on stage that don't agree with each other, or there'll be whatever, right? That's what makes a party cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. The music's cool. The vibes are cool. The food is cool. The people are cool. That's what is going to change things. And that's what we have to do with the Republican Party.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember leaving in September when I was here last, and I left and I was like, wow, Turning Point is the new GOP. It's you guys. No pressure or anything. It's you guys. So it's been really incredible to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this is our team at Turning Point Action. We have Luke that's right here. That's on our team. Does an incredible job in Michigan. We have so many good people that are across the country who have engaged, downloaded the Turning Point Action app, have done so much good work, have started this effort in their own neighborhood of starting on their street, talking to people, getting them involved. Again, it feels weird at first, riding a bike.
Yeah.
But once you can start getting used to it, oh, okay, this is how it works. This is how you change the country.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate all of the great work that you're doing out here, and I appreciate you having us. And it's a heavy load that you guys are carrying, but you're doing it just so gracefully and well.
Thank you.
I applaud you.
We've got a great team, and we've got the vision is very clear. We've got a huge amount of work to do this next year.
Yeah.
And again, things aren't always as bad as people think they are.
Right.
We've got a lot of opportunity ahead of us, and again, it starts the left doesn't have anything like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Their parties are lame.
They're just not doing anything. There's nothing exciting. I mean, we've already basically got a nominee for president in 2028.
Yeah.
They've got Gavin Newsom, AOC, Pete Buttigieg, and Kamala Harris are their top 4 polling people. Like, I would much rather be over here.
Yeah.
Like, not even close.
Yeah.
So we're in really, really good shape, and people need to embrace that.
I love it. Tyre Bowyer, he is, of course, the COO of Turning Point Action, which I encourage everyone watching, go get involved with TPUSA Action. I mean, if you want to save the country and all. I appreciate you, Tyler. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, before we go to break here, I want to thank our sponsor, PreBorn. So it's not too late before Christmas. If you're thinking, what do I get? Like Aunt Susie, I'm going to the family Christmas party. She's grown. She doesn't actually need anything. Might I suggest the gift of life that you can give with PreBorn? They are, of course, doing God's work, offering these scared women. They've got these unplanned pregnancies. They're walking in, and they're actually just being shown the truth, which is an ultrasound. This is your baby. This is a life inside you. They're seeing the ultrasound. They're listening to the heartbeat. And in that moment, they are twice as likely to choose life. Ultrasounds cost money. $28 is the cost of an ultrasound. So how many babies' lives can you help us save? Right now, we've got a matching grant as well. So your gift will be doubled. You will know that every dollar is going to save babies' lives. You can go to preborn.com/Sara. Donate there, preborn.com/Sara. Before we finish out, I do want to thank our last sponsor of the show. Last sponsor of the year, actually. This is our last show of the year before Christmas. We will be back in January, but that sponsor is Flying Ace Spirits. So Flying Ace is really great because not only do they, when you go to their website, you're going to get a delicious whiskey, it's also American made. So these are American grown grains made by an American company. It's just real whiskey made for people who still believe in hard work, high standards, and doing things the right way. So it's not too late to get it before the end of the year. You can go to flyingacespirits.com, use code BLAZE for free shipping. We drink this exclusively in the Sara Gonzales household. Flyingacespirits.com, use promo code BLAZE for free shipping. So as we wind out the end of the year, I think that there's a group of people who think that they're going to go quietly into the night. And that group of people are the Somalis in Minnesota, because there's more fraud that they have uncovered. And it's actually worse than was ever expected, which is not a good thing when you're talking about using people's taxpayer money to then go along and funnel, sometimes in some cases, to terror groups. So here's the headline: at least $9 billion billed across 14 Medicaid services in Minnesota may be fraudulent, top prosecutor says. According to First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson, 14 Medicaid services under audit and deemed, quote, high risk for fraud have cost the state $18 billion since 2018. He also said a substantial amount of money billed across those programs is fraudulent, but the exact amount is still under investigation. So obviously, the $18 billion is the full total, not the amount that is. Hi, that is. Sorry, my friends come and I have to say hi to them. That's like not the total is not all fraud, but a substantial amount is, and we need to find out A, who is doing this, and B, get them the hell out of our country. Over 90% of the people that were charged in Minnesota's previously revealed fraud cases were of Somali descent, and this includes the COVID-19 relief scheme, Feeding Our Future, Housing Stabilization Services fraud, and the autism fraud scheme that we've talked about on the program before. So now the FBI is raiding a Somali health services building after all of these billions of dollars in Medicaid fraud was exposed, which as well they should. But the big problem here is we have to have accountability. What I'm telling you is that Ilhan Omar is way too close to all of these fraud scams. Ilhan Omar, it cannot possibly be, my opinion only, it cannot possibly be that Ilhan Omar happens to know the restaurant that has committed all of this taxpayer fraud. They were pretending like they were feeding all of these people during COVID-19. It turns out they were just funneling the money. It is a little bit strange that she had her campaign party there. It's a little bit strange that she knows one of the other guys who has been busted for all of this fraud. It's a little too strange to be coincidental. It's a little too strange that she happened to, marry a guy that appears to be her brother. It's a little bit strange that her birth date goes back and forth between 1981 and 1982, and one of those dates would deem her ineligible to receive the citizenship that she received under her father as a child. One, she would be 17. The other, she would be 18. Where is it? So this whole thing stinks. And at the end of the day, we really need accountability in this. We really need accountability for the fact that taxpayer money is being fraudulently sent across, over to Somalia. And last week, the leader of their entire state, Tim Walz, I like to call him Jazz Hands. Jazz Hands Tim Walz was asked if he thinks Somali leaders need to hold their own accountable. And you're going to be shocked to hear he actually has a much different evil person, evil people, and it's not the Somalis. Watch.
Do you want to hear more from members and leaders from the Somali community to say, we need to look at ourselves, we need to hold our own neighbors accountable, because look at the damage that this has done to our community. What do you want to hear more from, instead of just saying, don't blame us? Do you want to see more ownership and oversight from within the Somali?
Look, it's not law-abiding citizens. If that were the case, there's a lot of white men should be holding a lot of white men accountable for the crimes that they have committed. I think for the community to maybe educate their population, because I think what you're seeing here is there's secondary victims in this, that there's providers inside the community that are then victimizing the community themselves by signing them up, because when we're going to some of these people, they're like, I had no idea I was in this program. So I think it's asking us then, for every crime, which of course the majority being committed by white men, asking us to do more about that. I think it's crime in general.
Right. Okay. Right. So the Somalis are committing all of this tax fraud. Let me tell you why white men are the real actual problem, from Tim Walz, who may want to look in the mirror. Actually, I wonder if he owns one. All right, before we have to go, I do want to get to some good news that President Trump has announced. I'm not going to play the clip because I want to get to the other part of it. President Trump announced yesterday, or several days ago, that every member of the United States military would receive a check for $1,776. Really, really amazing show of solidarity with our troops. And you would think that this could be something that we could all agree on. These people who, go out there, they risk their lives for our country, to defend our country, to protect our country, should be honored. And the left, they can't handle that. They cannot handle one bit of loving America, of wanting to defend America. They won't have anything of the sort. And so now, after President Trump announced that, the mainstream media reaction is actually, let me tell you why President Trump is wrong in this or something. Watch.
And he can promote 1776 costs all he wants and giving out a check. That worked for him the first time. 1776, that's less than a rent check in D.C. I don't even know what the impact of that is going to be. I want to bring.
What is even the impact of that? That's less than a rent check in D.C. Tells you all you need to know about these people. All you need to know. She's living in the D.C. bubble. She doesn't understand how much that means to all of these men and women who serve our country. And I commend President Trump for doing that for them, even though the leftist media won't do so. It's a real shame that they can't just agree that us honoring our service members is somehow, well, that doesn't even pay rent. I don't know, maybe move out of D.C., okay? I want to thank everyone here. I want to thank Turning Point USA for allowing us to be here at this amazing event. I want to thank everyone who has watched the show this year. As I mentioned earlier, this is the last show of the year. We do have a period in which we go dark to give our crew members time to unwind over the holidays. And so we will be back with you guys in the new year, I'm sure with a lot more to talk about, because there's going to be a lot that happens. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But we will see you guys in 2026.